Spotlight TV, hello again. Whoa, I gotta sit down.
Alright. So, yeah, what we want to do. What's up?
Talk to me.
1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Thank you.
Cool. So yeah, we just wanted to talk real quick today actually about, we're looking at
Can I change chairs?
Oh yeah.
Would you mind?
No, it's fine.
Because what would happen last night was we had that chair, and that chair, and we were playing office chair basketball. And we were doing 2-on-1 and stuff like that, so.
Alright.
I just don't want to, in the middle of this, want to slide away and shoot a hoop.
Yeah, those are actually always a no-no for interviews. Yeah, swivel. Yeah. So it looks weird. People don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. But actually, that's the best one for basketball.
I'm going to scooch through here and
All
get
right.
out of the way so I'm not in camera range here.
Alright. Well, anyway, just what we wanted to talk about today was, we're looking at the county executive race. We've been looking at, fundraising totals for the different candidates and how they're, using that. And in your case, you're kind of using some new media to, overcome maybe the, some of the deficit you have.
Yeah, well, obviously, if you look at the numbers, I'm low man on the totem pole. And did I use new media in relationship to not having it? I used what was available and what reached people, and I used what people are using now to get their information. So to overcome the numbers, perhaps. To get my message out, that's why I did it.
Well, you have an interesting perspective because you ran for office. Your first run was 1980, 84?
Well, no, and I was on the very first Erie County Council.
Oh, right.
And
I was thinking of your state senate run. So.
Well, if you want to do a comparison, I ran in 1980 for the state senate in the Democratic primary against the incumbent.
Well, you have an interesting perspective because, there was no new media in 1980. There was no free, you can upload basically a campaign video for free online and have it seen by people, right? I mean, how much has that changed the landscape for you?
First of all, in 1980, I was outspent 8-1 or better. I won the race. I bought some 10-second ads that said, I'm Buzz Andrezeski, I want to be in government full-time. And I was on issues publicly, all right? In 1980, the reason I won the Democratic primary for state senator was issues, and that's what I talked about. Today, I'm still talking about issues, but using a different media. I'm using something where you can really get into hard issues. So, is it different today? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, do you think it's leveled the playing field a little more today, or is it just different?
It's somewhat leveled playing field. I was able to use it. I was able to use it effectively. And the reason it worked in the message, the issues I talked about were really hard. People didn't like me talking about what happened to somebody, to another person who was elected in county government. And for those people, for those who are that offended, I apologize. But more importantly, I apologize to the county controller personally. And I didn't mean to do that to that family, but I meant to say and show what the abuse of power by Mark DeVecchio did.
Well, let's talk about the other thing about new media besides being free. Is that you control the message. I mean, I know, there are people who have complaints about the way mainstream media picks stories, decides what's news. I mean, do you feel like raising issues like this, do you feel like you've been able to bypass the process and maybe get things out there that might not have otherwise?
Well, mainstream media, you can't put somebody on for 5 or 6 minutes or 10 minutes. It's not the way mainstream media is done. I was able to take a media and just stretch. Instead of a 20-second, 1 minute, I was able to talk about a specific issue for 5 or 10 minutes, and I did. Is it different? Sure. Your media, though, you have a whole lot of people watching. My media is down to where you can place it that somebody can see it and find it.
Cool. And I guess in the end, no matter what media you're in, the goal is the same, right?
Oh.
You gotta commit. You know, when you get the eyeballs, that's half the battle. Then you
Yeah. Well, in the end, it's what does your message say, and do people agree with it? And you know, you had a choice. I had a choice. Of course, I didn't have the money. And if I look back at 1980, and if I go back to that race, it was raising some real hard issues. And I raised some personal issues about my opponent putting his family on ghost payrolls. And that had an effect. And it was personal, but hey, that's what he did. Does money make a difference? Well, I don't think that the person who spends the most should win the race. And historically, not historically, but there's a lot of people who spend a lot less who still win. Hard work still counts for something.
All right. Well, that's a good place to end it. Let me just ask, how much have you raised so far? I mean, I know you said, you know, to the paper you were fairly low on the totem pole.
I'm not fairly low on the totem pole. I'm at the bottom of the totem pole. My opponents have raised $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. I have spent my own money and my own money spending. You know, I have spent my own money. It's about probably $2,400, $2,500 by this point.
And then have you raised? So you spent your own money. What about fundraising?
I had one fundraiser, and I did raise money, but it was the highest contribution I got was $100. The rest were $25, and I probably raised $1,500, $2,000 there.
All right. Well, that works for me.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm Buzz Andrezeski. You have just watched a Christian Lestat production.